ACC win totals. We went through the SEC, went through the Big Ten. Let's take a look at what's going on in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They are, if you want to use the verbiage Core 4, they would be in that. And we got some win totals from FanDuel. One more time I'm going to say this. FanDuel, get your act together. Sponsor the boys here. All right, hey, we talk betting lines, we talk over-unders, we talk props, we talk all that. So make sure, hey, FanDuel, if you're watching this, figure it out, lock it in. We appreciate y'all. All right, some of the most intriguing win totals in the ACC. You got not one, not two, but three teams tied at the top of this thing for over/under 9.5 wins. Let's start with the Clemson Tigers. Dabo and the boys. I like to call them the Chick-fil-A of college football, not just because of Dabo's beliefs, but also because of the way that they do things, different than anywhere else in the country. And you can be different. You can be closed on Sundays as long as you're providing the very best product college football has to offer, as long as you're providing the best product, the best chicken sandwich fast food has to offer. I don't want to hear any other arguments for any other institution. Chick-fil-A, hands down. We move right along. Clemson at over/under 9.5 wins feels ambitious, because going back to what I said about Chick-fil-A being closed on Sundays, you can be closed on Sundays when you're the best. Clemson has not been the best the last couple of seasons. And that's not me throwing shade at Clemson. That's just me speaking facts right now. I don't know if I trust the offense enough to think they're going to win more than 9.5 games. That's not a prediction. That's just how we feel right now. Last year, they scored 26 points a game. Now they bring back 70% of that offense. So in some ways, you could see an evolution of sorts and kind of make that next step. And Cade Klubnik kind of gets it figured out a little bit more comfortable. But the defense last year, I felt like, was the strong point of that football team. They have 49% of that production back from a year ago. Okay, so about half that production is gone from last year's defense that I thought was kind of their calling card. Now you look at the schedule, they open with Georgia. I'm not chalking anything up to a win or a loss. I'm just saying you open with, for my money, the preseason number one team in college football. We move right along. So then you're asking them, if you want to have the over 9.5 win total, which again would be 10 wins, means you can only lose 2 games. You're asking them to go 4-1 in these 5 games. NC State, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, at Florida State, who won the conference a season ago, Louisville, who is going to be top 25 in the country to start the year. They just reload with the transfer portal. At Virginia Tech, number 1 returning production team in the country, and your rival game against South Carolina. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying 9.5 for me right now with what we saw last year, what I don't know about the offense, feels a little bit ambitious to me, all right? Now, I love Garrett Riley. I would not be surprised if they had an offensive explosion in 2024, but that's how I feel about it right now. Moving right along here, let's talk about Miami. The Canes, baby. Vegas putting Miami at 9.5 wins. The over-under total there after a 7-win season feels a lot like Vegas taking note of a one Cam Ward. Now listen, we've done, since this show was even independent, and I say independent loosely, but since this show was in a lobby in Waco, Texas, we've done a segment every single offseason talking about teams that we would buy stock in every college football offseason. The last 2 offseasons, I have said I would buy stock in Miami. Even after the 5-7 season, even before Mario Cristobal took the job there, I would buy stock in Miami. Or I guess as soon as he took the job there, I said I'd buy stock in Miami. I love the way that they're built. I love the fact they got a top 10 class from 2023 that's going to cycle up. You've heard me gush about Francis Mauigoa being an absolute stud on the offensive line, Ruben Bain. You've heard all those talking points before. But when you look at the schedule, their 2 toughest games are at Louisville, and then they play Florida State. So they got a 2-game stretch there, back-to-back, going to be tough. They get a bye right before going to Louisville. I'm just saying, I think with what this team has on the roster and what they could be offensively with Cam Ward now running the show, and that offense looking a lot more like Shannon Dawson, I believe, wants it to, I'm buying stock in the Canes. It's not me making a pick on the over-under there just yet, but I feel a lot better about Miami hitting the over on 9.5 wins than I would about Clemson. So take that as you will. Another 9.5 win football team. How about the Florida State Seminoles? Can we get that transfer portal check to clear one more time? I'm not talking NIL here, baby. I'm talking about, can we have the same success rate we've had in the portal the last couple of years? Can we do it one more time? Because Jordan Travis, no longer your quarterback. You are 83rd in returning production. But here's the deal now. Save games, save prizes. Go out and get a quarterback in DJU. You had Brock Glenn on your roster. You had Tate Rodemaker on your roster before the bowl game. I think if they had a conversation and told him, hey, Tate, you're our guy next year, they would have kept him. Seems like they felt a certain way about that quarterback room, wanted to elevate, go out and get DJU. I got 4 games circled for Florida State. You got the DJU Bowl against Clemson in Tallahassee. That will be, dude, that's going to be so fun. Andy Staples had to sit down and interview with DJU this morning. I'm just saying, that's going to be a lot of fun. At Miami, okay, so we'll see where Miami is at that point in time, but that one you have to expect will have a lot of juice around it. You're at Notre Dame, okay? Now, Notre Dame remains to be seen what they are, and then you play Florida at the end of the year. 4-game stretch, but, I mean, if you go 2-2 in that, that's not a prediction. I'm just saying 2-2. I could see them going 2-2 and being just fine and getting the over on the 10-win total. If I had to pick today, I would lean towards a Miami and Florida State ACC title game, because remember now, the ACC, divisionless, Hungry Game style, free-for-all. Everybody gets a chance at this thing. I would love to see that game played for an ACC title, just for the sake of that rivalry. So those are the top 3 that all have 9.5 win totals. Let's take a look elsewhere across the conference. Tell you what, man. Virginia Tech at the over-under win total of 7.5. That is the NyQuil special to me. NyQuil special, ultimate sleeper pick is Virginia Tech. Because as much as I feel good about Miami and Florida State, and Clemson has a lot of talent, even with what they don't bring back on defense, like, I still think this conference is fairly wide open. Heck, I don't even have Louisville that we're talking about right here on this show right now, or on this list, but they could be a player in this thing. The way that Virginia Tech finished the year last year, you can't overlook continuity now. They finished 5-2 in their last 7. They have the number 1 returning production in the country. Kyron Jones now running the football. That is a grown man. Plays quarterback for them, transferred from Baylor, had some ups, had some downs, but when I talk about the ups that he had, they were very high ups. He did a lot of things really effectively with his legs. I think he's got a lot of ability as a passer as well that we haven't seen just yet. Dude is a ball player now. All right, so Kyron Jones, someone to keep an eye on. If he puts it together consistently how we saw him play at a high level last year, and that's just his mode throughout the course of the season, like, keep an eye on Va-Tech. Keep an eye on Va-Tech. Their toughest road game is at Miami. They play Clemson in Blacksburg, which has sneaky written all over it. No NC State. All right, so I think the schedule is workable. They could be that out of nowhere team that you see this year in college football. Do not be surprised if we talk about Virginia Tech at the end of the year as being one of those teams that's competing for the ACC championship. Not a prediction, but hey, we're sitting here in February. We're going to talk our cash. That's how we feel about Va-Tech. One more team I want to talk about here, NC State. Over under at 8.5, right? Now, there's several teams in college football that we just call cockroach teams. And when I say cockroach, I mean that in the most endearing way possible, because we all know this. When you try and smash a cockroach, like you find one in the kitchen or you find one in your bedroom or wherever, and you try and smash it, takes a lot to kill that thing. Like, those things are durable, they're tough. I would go so far to say that cockroaches are, in fact, the ultimate program guy. They don't care about how it looks. They just keep on moving forward, and they're all about culture. They stay tough. That's NC State. That is NC State to a T. The last time they won less than 8 football games was 2019. All right, this is a Dave Doran team through and through. They are 80th in returning production. Guess who cares? Nobody at NC State. Not a soul at NC State gives a darn about who is or isn't coming back. They're ready to roll with who they got coming back. They got a new quarterback through the transfer portal. Robert Anae went and got a guy that I think fits his system in Grayson McCall. Didn't have the success you hoped you would have with Brendan Armstrong last year. Nonetheless, the beat goes on. Grayson McCall, a dude who did numbers at Coastal Carolina, now he's taking a dip in the Power Conference water. Going to jump in the ACC and see how he fits. I don't hate the schedule for NC State. I don't. I mean, you look at this, they open up with Tennessee. It's a neutral site game, but it's being played in Charlotte. I'm not a whiz at geometry. Woo! It's a Thursday. I'm not a whiz at geography, but I understand that NC State is a lot closer to Charlotte than Tennessee is. Nonetheless, they're at Clemson September 21st. The heavy lift for them is really that first part of the year. There's no Miami. There's no Florida State. I'm excited about NC State. They're one of those teams to watch without question. Curious to see how it shakes out for them with that 8.5 win total. If I had to pick today, I'd probably lean the over on NC State there. So those are your ACC most intriguing win totals in college football. The hard count is brought to y'all by our friends over at Game Time. And Game Time, listen, I understand that college football games are not being played right now. Doesn't mean there's not still tickets for things to go to. We have one of our producers for the show, Trey Annity. Dude loves NASCAR. Guy loves left turns as much as anybody else that I know. And I believe it's the Daytona 500? Daytona or Indy? Daytona 500. Nick Brake is nodding yes, Daytona 500. That's coming up this weekend. If you want to be there, you want to be there for the best price, Game Time taking care of you. And we're taking care of you with Game Time. So first part of this, know before you buy. All right, know what you're looking at from a seat perspective via the app before you hit purchase. And then when you do hit purchase, you're getting the best price. You want to know how I know? Because Game Time, they got the Game Time guarantee on that thing. If you find a ticket in the same section and row for less than what you paid for Game Time, they say, you know what, that's not right. We're not okay with that. 110% of the difference credited right to you. Bada bing, bada boom. So watch the Daytona 500 in style. Very important now. Most important part of this whole ad read, if you hear nothing else, hear these words coming out of my lips to your ears via the YouTube or the podcast, however you're listening. Use code HARDCOUNT for $20 off your first purchase, all right? HARDCOUNT, that spells hard count, $20 off your first purchase. So, terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code HARDCOUNT, Game Time. Best tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of the Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.